Welcome, y'all. Welcome to the first episode of the Abraxaswax podcast. We're just here today chiming in on vinyl community and record stores. My name is Seth. I opened a record store in September of 2023. We thought it was appropriate for us to include the community a little bit on what we do here and why we do it. So Joe and I are here today to just introduce you to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish with this space. We do shows and we sell records and we talk shit, I guess, on occasion. So I got with me a partner named Joseph, and we're just chilling, hanging out. Welcome.
Yep.
What do you think, Joe?
I think that this is going to be a fun time. We get to talk about what we love and what we think about and what we talk about all the time, which is music. And, that's why I'm here. I would do this for free because I do it for free anyway. So I might as well have fun doing it. And, we think about music all the time. We discuss music all the time.
Every day.
And we might as well share what we've learned over the years and grow from the experience. And hopefully you guys will grow with us. We're all about growth.
Yeah. Plant growth. Yeah, and just this isn't like a bigotry thing at all. This is just knowledge and information and inclusive feelings. We're not trying to say we're better than anyone. We're just trying to transform everyone, into new genres, new music, new styles, new records, and weird shit. Yep. So that's the goal of this whole podcast, is just to show everyone that we're about something a little bit different. And I know there's a lot of record stores that probably feel the same. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
So I'll start with just a little brief intro. My name is Joe, a.k.a. rchecka, a.k.a. Reasonableness Check. I go with rchecka or just Joe from my friends. I've been collecting since I was a child. I made mixtapes, from the radio before I even had, CDs or records or tapes. And
78s.
Yeah, no, not 78s, but I borrowed my older sister's records and I would make mixtapes with those before I had records. And then, I basically, as long as I've been a child, music has been a huge part of my life. And for that reason, everything I listen to is kind of like a musical Rolodex where it conjures up old memories. So
that's what music's good for.
Yep, sure. It really is. It's kind of like smells. You know how if you smell something, it triggers a memory from childhood. Music is like that too, where it just, you can hear a song and you can remember, 4 or 5 different events based on that one song.
That's where I think it's spiritual,
Yep.
And that's I truly believe that music does, like, it just brings us together, and that's a very simple and obnoxious cliche way to say it, but it's very true.
Yep.
I think there's a strong point of perspective there where there's a reason why we all need music at least at some point in our day, and if you don't need it in your day, you're probably a serial killer.
Yep, a little bit. I think I've never really met any person who doesn't like music. Have you ever talked to someone who's like, I don't like music?
At least something,
Yeah.
At least background noise. That's fine.
Yeah.
Even waterfalls in the background. I mean, that's music in some form. But yeah, I have met people that just don't listen to the radio, and I worry for them a little bit.
Yeah.
They just don't even care. They're just I'm just gonna turn the radio off in my car and drive in silence. And those people scare us. Don't.
Chris, the man behind the camera, it just said it was me, but he really isn't like that. He's just being shy.
I really am.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, if you got a lot on your mind, I get it. If your mom's in the hospital or if something terrible's happening, then
yeah, that's true. That's another good point. When you're having a bad time or a traumatic moment, I try not to listen to music because I end up associating songs with bad memories.
Sometimes
great music could be ruined because I'll give you an example. When my daughter was young, she fell off a trampoline and broke her arm and really badly, and she had to be taken in a hospital plane or a helicopter rather, because they said it's a matter of life or limb. And so, we watched her fly away in a helicopter and we're like, what the hell? This is our daughter. I went home, just, waiting to hear back from the hospital. And I made the mistake of putting on a brand new record I just got. And it's a great record. It's, a wonderful record. But to this day, I cannot play that record without thinking about that moment. So I try not to associate, memories. That's the time when I'm like, nope, I'm not playing music
interesting.
today.
I mean, I know what you mean. Sometimes I do it on purpose for bad reasons, though. Like, there's certain records that I can relate, not quite like, I don't have a daughter, but like not quite like injury related, but there's certain records I'll put on sometimes that just remind me of like a romance, or like a breakup or like something terrible that's happened to me, and it just brings me right back to that moment in like high school or college or something silly where I just like was really sad. And sometimes like that feeling is definitely like very much of who I am, and like I put that record on to remind myself of like that little sliver in time where I was like, man, I was so lost, and I put this CD in my Jeep because I was like, I just want to find that memory again. It's really weird. It's like when Dumbledore draws that hair out of his fucking head. And just watch this shit, man. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it is really cool how like just instantly you can be brought back to a different moment just based on just hearing something.
Transcend.
Yep,
it is wild.
So just to follow up with that, everybody, my daughter's perfectly fine now. There's nothing wrong with her. Her arm is healed perfectly, so that's all good. In other words, I shouldn't have a bad memory, but I still do because it took me back to that day. So
sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that.
No.
It's something.
It's fine. It's just one of those things that I can laugh about it now too, but back then, man, it was traumatic.
I was laughing at the Cousin Eddie thing where he's like, gets kicked by a mule, eyes go great, falls in a well, go cross-eyed again. I don't know why. It's like my mind was just going to Cousin Eddie there for a second.
Cousin Eddie.
The guy really from
oh my gosh,
Christmas Vacation.
That's why you're the camera guy.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
the guy with the camper and your kids.
Yep.
Shitter was full.
Yep.
Come on.
All right. So, hey, would you want to start? Since we're talking about ourselves and why we do this, let's make our music speak for us. Do you want to start with some selections you've chosen that you think?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, look at here. I just so happen to have them waiting for us. Alrighty. Let's get into Lonnie Liston Smith, shall we?
Wonderful.
This isn't my favorite record from him, but I can't find my favorite record from him. I think it's because I framed it, and I don't know what it is. But Lonnie Liston Smith, excuse me. This is just so happens to be a promo copy, but jazz funk. Worked with Bob Thiel quite a bit. One of those dudes that just didn't really put out a bad record.
No.
And when you listen to everything, even his later stuff, early or late 80s stuff was just like gold. And this is...
What year was that?
This is 84.
84, okay.
But this has got one of my favorite songs on it, and it's Once Again Love. It's like the perfect just summer song ever made. Like, this is the greatest summer album, in my opinion, ever made. It's just happy, light piano, jazz, and it's... The cover does say a lot.
Yeah.
Like, he's just vibing.
Yeah.
And, Dr. Jazz, shout out Dr. Jazz. They always do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
They took a lot of, I think they took a lot of musicians like on their way out. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
They were with Blue Note, they were with this, and there's we'll finish you off. But this is arguably one of my favorite artists of all time.
You cannot go wrong with that man. Everything he does is gold.
His chord progression, his influence on the jazz community was very special.
Yep.
Kind of like a branch of Herbie Hancock, kind of like a branch of, I don't know. He was just kind of in his own little waveform of specialness.
Yeah.
And I truly admire this man. That's enough about Lonnie Liston Smith. Silhouettes. Let's get back into, what do you think, Joe? What's a record you'd recommend?
All right,
these fine peeps.
I brought some of my favorites. I'm going to start with El Cheapo first. You know, as you know, you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a great record, and this is one of those. This is the Blues Busters. Philip and Lloyd is the name of the album, and they're all lovers rock, chill out reggae, you know, sweet soul, all covers. So like I Shot the Sheriff, Baby I'm Sorry, Here I Am, Take Me, like classic lovers songs. Really chill, really beautiful, really moody.
Do you romance your wife to this album?
I certainly do. I do. And I romance myself to it because just like the name implies.
Romance with yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't romance with myself. But
I romance myself.
As the name implies, you know, they are blues busters. They will bust your blues if you got the blues. I think I spent maybe $8 on that record, and it is literally one of my most played records. I play it all the time. It always puts me in a better mood.
1975.
1975, and it's
What a time to be alive.
yep.
Joe was alive.
Scepter Records.
I was one, I believe.
Yeah, there's some Smokey on here. There's some Robbie Wilson, Al Green.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Super soulful. Just beautiful stuff.
Baby,
And-
I'm sorry. Is that James Taylor or who is that? James.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one, but
Baby, I'm sorry.
but that's I started cheap because you know that's the point. You do not need to spend
No.
$40 to get a great record.
That's something people don't understand. Like, honestly, most of the time you see a record that's like $4 and you just keep seeing it all the time, it's probably because it's a pretty good record.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a very, like, broad explanation of, like, buying records. But
Yeah.
I do think that there's a lot of records available to the public that are just sitting in stores, like, in abundance. And they're $3 or $4 and people overlook them because they're like, well, you know, that's $4. I don't think I need that one.
Yep.
And it seems like the common price mark right now for people is like, you know, 10 to 20. And I understand, you know, that thought process. But like at the same time, like there's a lot of Herb Alpert records you can get for $3. And it's just like, man, dude, this shit rips. And Grover
Sergio
Washington,
Mendes.
Sergio Mendes.
Yep.
There's a lot of cool jazz records for sure, and funk records you
Yep.
can find for $4, $5, $6, and you're just gonna be like, wow.
Yep.
And maybe next time we'll get more into that for sure.
What else you got?
Oh, I got some 3 sounds. Gene Harris is probably one of my favorite musicians of all time. And if you've ever been to Abraxas, you've probably heard me talk about him many a time. I got some photos and, you know, his records are on my walls. But this is just a reissue, unfortunately. But I would say that Gene Harris is probably one of the most goated pianists, jazz pianists of all time.
Nice.
He's definitely one of my favorite musicians that's ever fucking done it.
Is that straight up hard bop?
This is just bop. Yep.
Okay.
This is like early shit, man. This is like one of the first Blue Note, and these guys must have just been homies because
So is that like late 50s?
this has got to be early 60s, late 50s. But this pressing in particular, I'm not entirely sure. I should have fucking researched this.
Oh, that's
before,
right.
You know,
It looks like an 80s, maybe 70s.
It's not telling me nothing. I think this is early 60s.
Okay.
But the 3 sounds
Yeah.
were legendary. They stuck together the entire time. Like, they never broke up. They were one of those bands that I think they were friends, but don't quote me on that. It seemed like they were because they produced a lot of albums together and they just kept going. And then once the 70s hit, it seemed like Gene Harris just kind of did his own thing, and that's when he started doing his funk stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's like some of my favorite stuff of all
Oh,
time.
yeah.
But I gotta shout out 3 Sounds because arguably one of my favorite groups of all time. I listen to a lot of bop and I listen to a lot of jazz, but like as far as like bop and post bop goes, like this is probably one of my favorites.
We should have an entire episode of just talking about hard bop. That would be fun because
Hard bop.
a lot of people know they like it, but they don't know some of the sleepers, and that'd be kind of fun to
It's split up. We could do hard bop and hardcore.
Yeah, there you go.
I can talk
What do you
about
think, Chris?
I don't understand.
All right,
hardcore music.
I'll do another one here.
We'll get into hardcore eventually.
This
Tie Down
one-
Goes Detroit.
This one is one of my rarest records I have. It's Cut Master. That's the guy's name. from 1993. And this is some indie boom bap from Don't Sleep Records from 1993. Area code 718. What is that? What is that? What city is area code?
718?
Yeah.
That sounds like Michigan?
Wow.
Yeah.
Guam?
No. Well, anyway.
Holy shit, that is rare, dude.
This is I ended up spending $200 on this, and it's a hip hop single. So there's two songs. There's there's the instrumental, there's the radio version, but this is so incredibly dope, and this is one of the hardest hardcore boom bap records I own. This guy, he literally is holding an axe in the picture, and he is ready to slay. The guy is just absolutely killer. I wish we could play the things that we're talking about, because your mind would be blown if you hear this guy just absolutely slamming. So yes, once in a while I do treat myself to something special. Whoever bought this before me only spent $1, but I spent $200.
718, by the way, is New York.
So yeah, that's New York hip hop. That's why it's worth so much money.
It says like Brooklyn, Queens.
But anyway, sometimes you got to spend a lot of money to get the joints, and I don't do it very often, but once in a while I do treat myself.
Everyone's due for a $100 record.
Yep.
There. If you know, you know.
Yep. Your turn.
My turn?
Yep.
Let's go into Kashif. Kashif, bro. Self-titled. It's almost like disco techno stuff, but it's very like gaudy, cliche funk soul stuff. He produced for Whitney Houston, and he produced some George Benson. He worked on some George Benson records. This guy was behind a lot of fucking funk soul artists out of the 80s, and he is like just the ghost of the era, and like nobody knows about him. Like, this is produced by him and Maury Brown, which is huge in itself. But
so is it kind of boogie-ish?
straight up boogie, dude.
Okay.
Boogie, disco, funk. It's always like his videos were always like him with like the leather.
Awesome.
Everyone was like covered in leather and just like clapping their hands with their roller blades on and shit. This is like the fucking cream of the crop stuff, man.
Nice.
And he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He died really young, though. I think he died in his 50s. And some of my favorite music, man. But this one in particular is like one of the coolest boogie records I've ever heard. It is just straight up funk, soul, disco. Just beautiful stuff, man. And
Nice.
It's obvious that he produced Benson. It's obvious that he produced Houston, Whitney Houston. Like, you can hear it. Like, he's worked with so many artists.
Nice.
And honestly, one of those dudes I don't think that gets enough shout-outs. Kashif.
Yeah. I don't really know anything about him, but now I do. Awesome.
Fuck, dude. When you hear that record, you're gonna shit a brick. That's
83.
That's one of the ones, dude.
That's the time,
I
man.
found that in an antique shop in like Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
That's great.
That's the best part about this record.
Nice.
And you'd never think it, you know. You see records like this. That's the best part about digging for disco and like soul.
Yep.
When you see records like this, everyone's like, "Oh, that's garbage."
Did you wear,
I don't need that.
Did you wear your sleeves like that?
I still do.
Oh, okay, cool.
If only I could be as fly as fucking Kashif. But
all right.
that's the best part about digging for funk and disco is I shouldn't shout it. I shouldn't even say it, but nobody's digging for it except us in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Like Chicago, maybe
Yeah.
Detroit for sure. But like once you get to Wisconsin, Minnesota, it seems like it's just overlooked. And you go into these antique shops and they got classic rock albums for fucking $70. But then they have this record for $1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, little do you know, this is like a $50 to $100 record.
Yep.
So joke's on you, man.
Yep.
You keep buying those Rush albums, I'm gonna buy Kashif.
Yep. Exactly.
And I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes. I've listened to 2112. I'd rather listen to that.
Yep. So now you're gonna hear back some hate mail from the Rush people.
Yeah. But they hate everything, so that's okay.
All right. So now I get to talk about. I like to talk about the reissue gods as if there's these deities who can read my mind and they know what needs to be reissued. And they finally came through for me and they reissued this once impossible to get DJ Crush
I think I got that
record.
for you, right? No, you
no,
bought it off
nope.
Amazon for $12.
No, I didn't. That's not. That's from Monk. That's a different sleeve. All right. So anyway,
Miss sleeving.
I have been wanting this record at least 15 years since I've had the CD, and it is the perfect marriage of jazz trumpet and chill out trip hop and hip hop. These guys, I don't know, there's something about DJ Crush. I mean, he hears things differently than everybody else. He literally brings you into this mood instantly. He does tricks with his production that I try to emulate whenever I make beats. I try to be spiritual. I try to be moody. You know, I try to sound haunting the way he does. And this record is, you know, I don't give tens. You know, once in a while, if on a scale of 1 to 10, once in a blue moon, something gets a 10. This is a 10 record. It's perfect. There's no filler. There's no, you know, bullshit. It's all just straight up moody, nice and chill hip hop. Real blunted too. Real good stuff.
It's one of the greatest records of all time.
It is. It's truly great.
Let's step away from that one. Telephone Tel Aviv.
Oh yeah. I love that record.
One of my favorite electronic albums of all time.
Such a good record.
Map of What is Effortless. This was probably like early 2000s?
Yeah.
Like mid 2000s?
Yep. 2001 maybe?
This was 2004.
Okay.
Off Hefty Records.
Yep.
Milwaukee Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Is it Avenue or is it Street? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But probably one of the prettiest electronic albums to ever be recorded. But
truly stunning stuff.
yeah, it's something I go back to a lot.
Yep.
And I don't know why. Like, I've listened to this album probably not much long after it came out.
Yep.
But I'd say that Telephone Tel Aviv were two of my favorite people. I think they're a duo, right?
Yep.
One of them passed away.
Correct.
R.I.P. But very ahead of their time. Glitchy, introspective, electronic, jazzy at times, but just like heavy bass, almost down tempo, minimal techno, but like something that not a lot of people have done or experimented with because they somehow meshed EDM with
classical even.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally blended in classical with that. It was wonderful stuff.
You got to just play this album. Like, Map of What is Effortless by Telephone Tel Aviv.
Yep.
And I don't know what, there's not really a whole lot to say about this album.
My Week
than, like,
Beats
what
Your
the
Year.
fuck. Yeah.
I mean, what a clever thing to say.
And they sing on it a little bit. They they play guitar. They're multi-instrumentalists, bass, drums. Like, I can't say enough good things about these guys.
You know where I learned about them is when they did that, their remix of 9 Inch Nails. Oh, yeah. That's the first time I heard that name, Telephone Tel Aviv.
Telephone Tel Aviv.
And so I ended up buying that record at Turntable Lab right when it came out.
So you have one of these?
I have that.
These are rare as fuck.
I know it is. It's great.
I don't know. There's not really much to say about this other than, like, everyone that ever watches this video, which is probably like 12 people, I hope you all fucking just go to Bandcamp or Spotify or whatever stupid streaming device you go to and just type in Telephone Tel Aviv and just listen to it in whole.
Yep.
Just shit your barn, dude.
It's wonderful stuff.
That was a dope record.
All right. Speaking of wonderful stuff.
Oh, found it at a coffee shop in Minneapolis. Disco Death Records.
Wow.
I mean, shout out Disco Death Records.
Wow, no kidding.
I mean, come on. That was like the last... I mean, no offense to Disco Death, but I was not expecting to find that in a coffee shop.
Yeah. So here is, in my opinion, the greatest Brian Eno, non-ambient, I'll make that distinction. The greatest Brian Eno, Another Green World. And, you know, what can I say about this? I actually read a book on this. I loved it so much, I read the 33 and a third series book about the making of this album. And the story behind the making of it is so funny. and it's so engaging.
What is it? What do you mean?
So these guys, this is back in the day when you couldn't just make an album. You had to rent studio space, and they rented some of the most expensive studio space.
Isn't that the space in Berlin or Germany, right? The big one.
But
where was Another Green World recorded?
I guess the city doesn't so much matter. The point was is they were spending a shit ton of money on an hourly rate, and they went into this session to make an album. And we're talking Phil Collins and Brian Eno and all of the musicians, all of the great goats were in there. The gods. And the point is, they went in there, and Phil Collins says to Brian Eno, "Look, what are we doing? Give me a lead. Give me some guidance. Where do we begin?" And Brian Eno basically sits down on his piano and starts playing a single key. Ding, 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 ding. That's the beginning. Go. And
Cale's on here.
he is on there. Okay, good.
Not John Cage though. John Cage is a little bit ahead of that time.
But he didn't really give direction to Phil Collins, and Phil Collins was drinking hard. And this in the book, then in 33 and a third, Phil Collins was like, "Would you please give me some direction?" He didn't want to improvise, but the story goes, Phil Collins at some point got so angry at that he started chucking his empty beer cans at him and saying, "You better get this shit straight. We're supposed to be making music here."
Wait, Cage was flipping. Wait. He was throwing beer at
Phil Collins was getting so annoyed that Eno didn't have any direction that he was chucking beer cans at him.
Eno was a wild card.
He was a wild card. So anyway, long story short, the next day after that kind of a mistake, Eno comes back with these cards, and you probably have heard of them. There's these special cards made, I don't remember what they're called, but they're designed to make you think about things from an abstract nature.
Yeah, have you watched the Blood Incantation video of them making that album?
No.
Their newest album?
No.
They're in Brian Eno's studio, and they're like pulling those cards.
Okay, there you go.
So that's a perfect example. Blood Incantation. Shout out Blood Incantation.
No doubt.
Fucking dopest album of the year.
But anyway, to get back to it, they had those cards, and then something magical began to happen. After they got past that little hurdle, they ended up making one of my all-time favorite albums. I mean, every single song on that is a different mood. It makes you feel completely differently. And it takes you on a very, very cool journey from the very beginning. So I could talk about just this album for an entire episode. I'm not going to.
Yeah, if we smoked a bowl, it'd be over.
Yeah. I mean, I just for sure this is worth it. I got
Brian Eno, dude. Shout out Brian Eno for sure.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. So I have this copy and I have the original copy, but this is the half-mastered Abbey Road Studio. So
I know, and that was going for $100 too.
Yep.
I mean, forever this channel will support Brian Eno and everything that he's done, from perfume smelling abilities to recording the greatest records of all time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Brian Eno is probably one of the most important people, one of the most important musical influences of our generation.
Yep.
And he's been around since Roxy Music, but
Yep.
that's another topic.
And just think about all this work with Devo.
Dude, he's done so much.
And
what hasn't
Bowie.
he done? He's a goat.
Yeah.
He's a god. He's the Michael Jordan of electronic music.
There you go. I concur.
All right. Speaking of Michael Jordan, here's Louise Bonfa, who is personally one of my favorite artists of all time, and I'm gonna say that a lot on this channel probably, but Louise Bonfa, Luizbonfa. Louise Bonfa, Jacaranda is a prog psych jazz folk album. One of the most experimental albums you'll ever hear. And it's a little bit of funky jazz, it's a little bit of free jazz, and it's a little bit of prog rock. But this is, I mean, if you want to get to know me, this is probably one of my favorite albums ever recorded.
Nice.
I would say this is top 3 for me. And I don't know what the other 2 are right now, but I'll get back to you on that.
Is that expensive?
No. They go for 50 to 100.
Oh, okay.
But it's just one of those albums where it's like, what? You know, like you listen to it. Dude, you can borrow this if you want. It's just one of those records where you're just like...
See how nice he is? He lets me borrow his record.
I let a lot of my customers borrow records.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell people that, though.
You have to borrow them. If you don't want to spend $50, I mean, I get it. I mean, just bring it back. Sounds better on vinyl than Spotify. Yeah. But, that being said, I would say that this is one of the greatest records ever made. Just because this guy was kind of out of his mind, dude. Like, he's psychotic and just loose in this album. Dude, you gotta hear it. There's a couple covers on here. I would be happy for you to borrow this, but this is one of the main records that really got me into like the whole Brazilian side of jazz.
Okay, sweet.
Luiz Bonfa is, I think, Brazilian. I could be wrong.
It must be by that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I have all of his other records, dude. I have a ton of his shit, but this is seriously something you need to listen to.
Okay.
And I almost named my store fucking Jacaranda.
Really?
It was on my mind.
Nice.
But there was one.
There
was one in England that was called Jacaranda.
Oh, okay.
Like, I can't mess with that.
Right.
So
and plus, I think people know, Abraxas more.
Abraxas is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think there's only like a print shop in Wisconsin named Abraxas. So. There is a shitty sci-fi movie.
We have it up there.
That is the thing. Shout out Chris. But
all right.
Anyway.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Smoke weed and listen to Luiz Bonfa, Jacaranda. See you later.
All right. The last one I brought, and it is perhaps the best of all time. Masters of Reality, Sunrise on the Surfer Bus.
Look at that cover.
I haven't gotten a tattoo since I was 18.
You got that tattooed on you?
No, I haven't. I was just about to say I don't have that tattoo.
You should get it on your belly button. You should get it on your belly button with the spoke as your belly button.
That would be huge. I would totally do that.
Yeah, that's a good
But if I am going to get a tattoo, it would be this rabbit, because I love this album so much. Talk about poetry, man. It's first of all, it's straight up rock and roll. You might want to call it what's that?
Cock and roll?
No, what's really? It's kind of like Queens of the Stone Age. What do you call that?
Stoner Rock?
Not kinda.
Ginger Baker produced this?
Yeah, Ginger Baker.
What the fuck is this?
Ginger Baker from Cream, the drummer, is
not
on
just
this.
Cream. He's on a lot of things, but yeah.
And this album is just slamming rock and roll.
When did this originally come out?
It came out, I believe, in 90, right?
92.
92, okay.
Fuck. All right.
So this was unusual for 92.
Yeah, I mean, the song after Madonna is called Gimme Water.
Yep.
These guys were drinking and partying during
this is straight up stoner rock and straight up rock and roll. But the lyrics are just as deep as any Bob Dylan or any like great lyricist. I mean,
songwriting abilities.
Like the song Madonna is only like 3 lines. Madonna, Madonna, are you really lonely? Do you want to be a bad girl after all? That's it. That's the whole song. But the way he does it is,
it's so hot.
Damn, I love this album.
See, if I did it, like, I can't sing like him, so I'm not going to try. But it's just awesome. Everything about this.
Just love the song Madonna.
Like, Rolling Green, I shouldn't have to tell you what that's about. Rolling Green, the story of a land, the lights you've never seen.
What is Rolling Green about? Like Rolling Hills?
It's a double.
Valleys of Wisconsin?
It's a double innuendo. There's a lot of innuendos in this. She got me when she got her dress on. That's an innuendo. I mean, what did she get? Him. When her dress was on. That's the song. So it's great stuff. JB Witch Dance, good stuff. Literally every single song on this is perfect. And the reissue guides, they came through. Like, this was a record store day release, super limited. I got this the day it came out, and I stood out in the cold forever to actually get this record.
As you should.
And I got it. I got the one. I got the one in the store.
Feel the pain for the vibe.
So, yeah. Chris, I've wanted to play this for you a couple of times, but I got to get you into the right headspace before I'm ready to play this for you, buddy.
Dude. We got to trip way harder for you.
All right, so you got any more?
No, I just got this hardcore record by Dave Matthews. No, No, the only other thing I want to talk about is supporting your local independent record store.
Agreed.
And that's not just because I own one, but that's just because, like, excuse my language, but fuck Target and fuck Walmart. They can suck a big giant. Anyway, independent record stores are what hold up, like, what records are trying to be. And whether you like it or not, Walmart and Target aren't supporting that ideal. They're not supporting that idea, and they're just really not. I mean,
They're not really catering to
everyone's bought records from Target and Walmart, right? And Amazon. We all have. We're all guilty of that. Even myself, I'll admit it. But that being said, the record stores that you're trying to trying to help out, I do believe that they're trying to help in a different manner. Like they're really trying to involve the community, and they're really trying to pursue something differently than, some guy in some Target office just ordering up every record that he thinks going to sell. Yeah, let's just order 17,000 Tyler the Creator records and let's push that through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like let's just think about that for a second. So Target and Walmart presses are not as good, and I know this is a really shitty way to end this, so we should have just probably just cut it off. But
well, why don't we talk about the good? You were mentioning some local-ish stores that you think are fun to support.
Man, there's so many local stores you could support before.
Yep.
You're always gonna pay a couple bucks more at a local store. That's just how it's gonna be, because we don't really have that overhead. We're not ordering 6,000 records from Taylor Swift, so there's gonna be a gap there. But Mill City Sound, big shout out to Mill City Sound out of Hopkins, Minnesota.
I like I guess kind of semi-local, Madison, Wisconsin. There's a little record store called The Door. They're a specialty shop who, it's kind of a small shop, but they have straight up metal, straight up punk. There might be one or two of other types of music, but they specialize in metal. So when you go in there, the guy knows what he's talking about. They have everything you'd ever want with metal and punk. When you go in there, of course you're going to spend a little bit more, but it's a specialty shop, and that's a specialty service that he's providing.
It is nice to find those stores.
They're a rare thing for, it used to be a thing.
Yeah.
It used to be a thing where there was a punk record store, now
Extreme Noise.
Yeah.
Shout out Extreme Noise for sure.
Yeah, but now that's pretty rare. They have to be you have to be a one-stop shop of all genres now to make it nowadays, and so that's why I wanted to mention The Door. They're a niche, but they're really, really, really good people. So, yeah. All right, here's some of the records that we spoke about tonight. We'll just end with that, and you guys have a fantastic day.
Yep. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you all showing up to the big old beef barn, and this has been fun. We'll see where this goes from here, but let me know if you have any questions, or even if you want to chime in on some ideas or topics for us to talk about. I'm always open to ideas or things for us to touch on maybe. So thank you from Abraxaswax.